go.
Okay.
Okay. Coach.
Okay. Kady.
That's what it says on your shirt.
Coach.
What's up, Coach? Eric.
That's right. Hey. Hi, I'm Eric Wong, and I'm here with
Kady! Here I am.
Kady Stapes from
Living Connected.
Yeah, we've done, I don't know, 10, 20, 5,000 podcasts now together.
Yeah.
Never met in person.
And here we are.
Here we are. We each drove an hour and a half to get to Vallejo, California.
Yep.
And we're in this park called Hans Park.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can't believe it. Yeah.
Yeah, can't believe, so excited. Glad to be here with you.
Yeah.
Podcast in person.
I can't believe it. I thought we would talk about a little bit of family dynamics. Is that what we're talking about today?
Yeah.
And
mix of everything.
Yeah, and you just give viewers like a 30-second précis summary of what's happened to you in the last year.
Oh, Jesus. There's so much that's happened in this last year. So I lost my boyfriend. That was not cool. Cried for 6 months. Lost my community, my apartment, my job from COVID. My cousin who was 6 passed away. My rabbit passed away. He was almost 11. And now my mom passed away. And yeah, had to move home in that year. That was very hard. As I don't know if some people know, but moving back home when you're had been independent for a while is challenging, has its challenging moments. And when you gain awareness prior to you being home, the awareness and knowledge that you gain from what's happening in family dynamic like opened your eyes to like, this was what was happening this whole time that I was here growing up. Holy crap. So it was kind of a lot, I think.
It was overwhelming.
Yeah, very overwhelming.
So you had just lots and lots of stuff to grieve and mourn.
Oh, 100%.
And then you have this awakening, of what's happening. Some, like almost an additional awareness, a layer of
a layer of awareness that it's deeper than probably what I had realized, because I had normalized the behaviors that were happening in our family as normal. And when I started NVC, one of my facilitators was like, I don't know, that's normal. And then I go home and I move home and I'm like, oh, yeah, this ain't normal at all. Not good. So here I am on this journey of the inner work and trying to figure out how I navigate this conditioning, I guess, that is like on a cellular level in my body. It sits. So
it's deeply embedded in your
100%.
Your responses in your gut, in your whole body.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of learned responses that happened.
And I would say reaction. I don't even know if they're responses.
They just happen. They react. They're reflex.
They're reflex. They're impulsed. Yeah.
They're impulse. Yeah. That's. I'm just thinking. I mean, it's just a tremendous amount. It's amazing you didn't explode.
Yeah, that's a lot of people said that. I was like, how are you dealing with all that? Because a lot of people don't know how to deal with that. When I describe the situation, some people would respond with, holy crap, Kady, how are you like coming out of this alive? I would have been like, I wouldn't be able to cope at all. So I'm like, oh, I don't know, I guess resilience.
How did the NVC help, maybe I should say, or support you?
NVC has supported me 100% through all this, because the time of which both of my parents couldn't see or hear or understand me, I had a group who did, and I found that resource super helpful to be resourced in my own body, to be able to somewhat be present with my family and what was going on, and somewhat aware when things are happening. and take notice and observations. Yeah, it helps because it's not only helped me resource and feel supported, heard, seen, understood, it also has given me an outlet to be able to talk to other people, because that's one of my coping skills, is to talk with other people, along with journaling and other things. But talking it out for me really helps process a lot.
So you had an NVC practice group that you could go to, which you had been going to in person.
Yep.
And you continued with once you moved home.
Yep. On Zoom. Yep.
So you come back with this awareness, you notice things, you go to your practice groups, and you help process them physically, emotionally. You're seen, you're heard, you're understood. Yeah. And each week you can go back and get more empathy and more understanding and more processing and more integration. Yep. And that's made a difference in the last year.
Huge difference. And having empathy buddies too.
Having empathy buddies too.
Because you can't rely just on group all the time. So I also outsourced with empathy buddies, or friends. I mean, friends that you connect with and you feel good and safe and trust.
Right.
100%. Because I didn't really trust my parents, I guess, because they weren't on the same journey I am, and they didn't understand the journey that I'm on. And you know, my dad thinking that NVC is a cult also was like this, painted this picture of what community that I was a part of that was super supportive to me. So they couldn't see this path that I was on as like a good one.
They couldn't see it as healthy. They saw it as
like
scary.
Oh, brainwashed or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, why is she talking like that? What is these words? It's like, I don't know what you're talking about. It's just words. But NVC is like a language. It uses different phrases and words in different ways that people are not used to. Yeah. And they find it scary. Yeah. Maybe.
No, I think that's true. I think we hear a lot. I hear a lot from individuals that people get scared. And of course your parents are going to be like, what is this? And it's really disorienting to them.
Disorienting, disruptive. Yep.
Disruptive, yeah. Yeah. And learning from Yvette Erasmus, you know, she simply says, what I remember, she says, is something to the effect of, people become disoriented when you don't behave the way that they expect you to behave. And and then I think the point about languaging is really important, because talking about me now and what I think is true, but
it's okay. I want to know.
Well, you know, I think this is the thing that's so interesting, and this isn't a criticism, and I know we know each other well enough. You know, NVC is really a language first for taking care of ourselves.
Yes.
To connect to ourselves. And as we use the language with ourselves, it helps us go from the embodied responses, reflexive responses, slows down, engages the cognitive mind, labels the feelings, reduces levels, continues, and then gets into needs, which allows us to figure out what's need is unmet when we're angry or upset, disappointed. Yeah. And then get into requests and strategies. What's so interesting that, at least when I learned it from Yvette, is clear, is she says, we don't talk this way to other people. I do talk that way to other people, but we don't have to talk to them because it doesn't feel good for them. They just don't know. And again, I'm not criticizing if you don't understand.
Of course not.
Right. Yeah. But the question then is, where do we meet them where they're at? Mm-hmm. And I think in this case, you're telling, I think you've said, I mean, you've been on a different journey, and they're just not in the same place. So meeting them where they're at is hard, and they can't meet where you're at, and you can't. It's hard for you to meet them where they're at because you have this embodied response to everybody, to your family members, right?
Yeah,
because you know they're pushing your buttons because they help make those buttons.
Yeah.
That's the education piece.
That's the education piece. Yes, it doesn't feel good for my family to hear the way that I talk. It just isn't connecting for them. You're right about that, for sure. And also, it would be like I would digress if I did meet them where they were and like get caught up in, which I still do get caught up, so I do digress. But, I try to stay, I think the self-compassion a lot, and finding the needs in that moment, and knowing like in split moments of awareness, going, okay, Kady, you paused for 5 seconds. You did a good job there. When before it would have just been like that. The pause was a great, push in the right direction. So the self-compassion also helps with not feeling like you have digressed and been like reactive and impulsed and to react. So that NVC portion that's also helped tremendously in awareness for self. Knowing the needs in that moment. Also understanding the brain and how the brain is working in moments of fight and flight, fight or flight, freeze, flee, fawn, whatever they are.
Right. So what I think I'm hearing is that with the awareness, it gives you a moment to pause, and then you can celebrate the fact that you paused.
Yeah.
And so that's a great indication of your growth.
Yes.
And then, so I think this is actually important, is that we celebrate each time we demonstrate or grow with the pause, the resilience, the awareness. Yeah. Because once we have the awakening, then we can start to really practice and make things happen. And so that's what it sounds like you've had a lot of practice this last year.
Oh my God, this last year has been insane with practice. And a lot of the awareness is the reflection back at what has happened, or the fight that had happened. It was, oh yeah, I did think about that for 2 seconds in this moment, and then right back to reacting.
Right.
It is those small wins in there, because look how long I've been alive for, and how long I've been going through all of this like dynamic and conditioning. Those small moments mean a lot when they build over time.
Yeah.
So the 5 seconds just in this like last couple days when I was with him, and I took a pause and like thought about what was going on, I got to take that as a small win, even though it doesn't seem like it, because I feel as though it was 90% of the reaction of sarcasm. I was reacting to all of his responses. And there was also that small portion that I did have an awareness for. And that's really good, because typically I would not have awareness at all, or noticing or an observation in that moment.
Yeah.
And I think it might have kept me calmer for a little while longer, and had a steady voice versus the defensive voice, or the snippy or the sarcastic tone.
Angry?
More frustration, then it gets to anger, but yeah.
So this is more sarcasm, amusement, than sarcasm like snippy?
Snarkasm is snippy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it helps to be, I think that's where NVC comes in when you do notice that. Mm-hmm. It does kind of keep you regulated a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Than normal.
Yeah.
It just takes freaking practice.
It takes a lot of practice. And as you said, you've had a lot of practice this last year.
Even though I don't feel like that practice has done me any good, because I still get triggered, and, poking the bear, I'm going to be like...
After 50 podcast episodes and 1,000 practice groups and hundreds of thousands of hours of empathy buddies, you still get, as you're practicing.
I'm human, right?
Yeah.
We're so human, and I think of it as like a bundle of fibers that are like intertwined together. And there's so many of those fibers, and right now I'm like learning to slice these fibers away so that I'm not so enmeshed in those parts of me that do react or are triggered, or defensiveness, the fighting because I don't flee. People obviously know. We listen to the podcast. We know Kady doesn't flee. Or I'm definitely a fighter. I'm going to go to the mattresses, and I'm going to stand up. I'm going to be big. So cutting those fibers away is like excruciating, because it's just been a part of me for so long. It's like, what am I going to do without my defensive and protection? Like, oh my God.
What are you going to replace it with?
What am I going to replace it with? And how separated can I be and not be so hooked in when I get hooked? My family knows how to hook you. I mean, they know exactly what hooks you in, and it's gonna get me, and I won't be able to stop.
You won't be able to resist. Your body's just ready to.
My body's ready to go.
Go for the hook. Go for 100%. The hook, and then fight.
Yep.
Okay. So,
So need for safety,
need for safety.
need for to be understood for sure, and probably seen, heard
Yeah.
for sure.
Maybe some, and I think we've talked, and warmth, kindness.
Warmth and kindness.
Yeah. Even you could
Yes.
disagree with warmth, you'd be okay with that.
100%.
Right.
And the thing is with that is that I would be regulated versus dysregulated, which you can't function in that. The frontal cortex is just like, shut down, I'm offline now. Bye-bye, Kady.
Thank you so much.
Reptilian brain, here we go.
It's good knowing you.
Good knowing you. Peace out.
It takes over. So then the question is, how do we get to a habit or an embodied habit of
Embodied
an
habit.
embodied habit, a fully embodied habit of being out of reaction into intentive response, I think.
Yes. An intention.
Pay attention.
Yes.
So we're going to pause the video here, and in the next one we're going to talk about those two things.
Sweet.
Bye.
See you guys. See you next time.